Hi, this is Jim Bovard doing a podcast for the Future Freedom Foundation. This is the 17th anniversary of the start of the War on Terror. I contacted a local bakery here in Maryland to try to get them to bake me a special cake for the occasion. They said no. So I filed a report with the FBI on them, unpatriotic bakers. You know, nowadays, if you see something, say something. For 17 years, politicians have been invoking terrorism to justify war abroad and surveillance and subjugation at home. We haven't won the wars, but the politicians have prospered mightily. The war on terror has been the biggest growth industry in this century. On a personal level, part of my wariness about this war comes from the constantly changing definition of terrorist behavior. Sure, it's a moving target, but I find myself in the crosshairs more often than I like. For instance, Homeland Security issued an alert in 2003 to all the nation's police departments about the traits of suicide bombers. The feds told local lawmen that the bombers could be detected by traits like a pale face from a recent shaving of a beard, that they might appear to be in a trance, or their eyes might be focused and vigilant, and their clothing might be either out of sync with the weather or too loose. Thanks to that warning, a lot of would-be terrorists hired fashion coaches. Maybe worst of all, the feds claim that anyone who finds it intolerable to wait in a long grocery line might be a terrorist bomber. Is it my fault if Safeway always screws up every time I go there? Homeland Security Department also notified local police to warn them that critics of government policies should be viewed as suspected terrorists. And people ask me why I'm paranoid. The feds are funding 70 fusion centers around the nation, partnering with state and local law enforcement to vacuum up reports on suspicious activity. The Los Angeles Police Department encourages citizens to file reports on people who stay at bus or train stops too long and watch a train or bus go by, individuals who carry on long conversations on cell phones, and, quote, joggers who stand and stretch too long. I thought that was the definition of being a Southern Californian. The Kentucky Office of Homeland Security encourages people to report people who are avoiding eye contact and people who are in places that they don't belong. Actually, that was something my neighbors were saying about me long before 9/11. Colorado's Fusion Center produced a public service announcement that warned about terrorist activity, which included taking photographs and notes. Since that report came out, I haven't taken a single photograph in Colorado. But nowhere else in the federal government can compete with the terrorist watch list compiled by the Transportation Security Administration. If you got 50,000 agents and you never caught a terrorist, you need a really broad definition of suspects, troublemakers. A couple years ago, we learned that TSA considers airline passengers waiting to board who are yawning, wringing their hands, sweating, and gazing down. This is trouble. Also, widely open, staring eyes. This is a terrorist warning sign. My favorite TSA terrorist giveaway is excessive complaints about the screening process. Yeah, that's the first thing that my buddies in Al Qaeda taught me about getting onto a plane. Maybe I should be grateful there are some TSA profiles I never matched, such as the Boston TSA was profiling Hispanics who were traveling to Miami and black guys who are wearing baseball caps backwards. I want to know whether TSA has a terrorist profile for railroad engineer caps. And what about the hat and a cigar? If that's not enough, how about if someone's wearing the hat, a cigar, and lights it? Okay, I'll wait till after the podcast for that. Back in May, we learned that the TSA has a secret watch list of troublesome travelers. Women can be placed on that list simply for shoving away the hands of a TSA screener who is squeezing their breast. I don't need to worry about being nailed for that specific thing, but it's hard to forget a TSA screener in Portland who tried to turn my family jewels into a pancake. But anyone who has loitered around a TSA checkpoint can be targeted. What's the point of having a cell phone with cameras if you can't hang out and take pictures of TSA screeners who are molesting people? Anyone who challenges TSA screeners can be put on the list, and that probably includes me because of the time I raised hell after a TSA screener seized my cigar cutter. Lordy, things have changed. It used to be that giving guff to government agents was practically the definition of being American. But nowadays, we're all supposed to be timid for our own good. Just when you think you've heard it all, news broke recently about another TSA secret surveillance program. This one's called Quiet Skies. It's hard to know exactly how people get put on that list, that watch list, but if they are, TSA air marshals stalk them before, during, and after their flight. The TSA marshals take careful notes whether the suspect is balding or graying, has a beard, or tattoos. Hey, 3 out of 4 isn't bad. The marshals also keep track on how many times someone goes to the bathroom during a flight. This is bad news for flights after happy hour. And it doesn't, and they also keep track of whether someone uses a quote, cold penetrating stare. And it doesn't matter if the row behind you is full of screaming kids. Best part, marshals carefully note whether their target was abnormally aware of their surroundings. Like the dude sitting across the aisle who keeps staring at them and taking notes. Yeah, that might qualify. After 17 years, are we all terrorists? I think back 15 years ago, I wrote a book called Terrorism and Tyranny. Unfortunately, that book is not out of date. Maybe next year. This is Jim Bovard. Thanks for watching.